welcome back to another Lap Guy video. My name is Bart, and today we'll be taking the Super Formula Lights car around the Suzuka circuit. Here's my hot lap. Alright, heading down into the first corner now at Suzuka. Well, I think sometimes it's considered like 1A, 1B, but I'm just going to call it turn 1 and turn 2. It's the first corner here. Pretty easy in this car. It functions more as a corner to prepare the second corner and kind of position yourself for the braking zone a bit. So don't worry too much about what you're doing. You should be flat out. Turning in roughly at the end of this service road on the left-hand side after the 50 board. Turn in. Don't treat this like an apex. Just ignore that. Don't worry about looking into it or anything. Just focus more on where you want to position your car for the braking for the second turn. So you're probably aiming to get your car there on the white line, about there somewhere under braking. That's where you're more aiming to be. So you can see you'll probably start braking just as you get past the red and white curb on the right hand side. Flat out to that point, you don't really need to slowly lift into it like you might in a more powerful car. I'm just keep it pinned, keep it pinned, keep it pinned. Make sure you try and get the car as straight as possible, as flat as possible, so the weight's going in as straight a line, so you get more braking performance. Now hit the brake, and again, you can see I'm not hitting the brake very hard, because if I do, well, you're going to lock up, because the car wants to go that way. All the force is going that way, so just try and be careful initially applying the brake, and then as we straighten up, you can kind of go into the brake a little bit more. Like I said, we've reached that point on the white line on the outside where we position ourselves nicely to turn in now for the second corner. Down to fifth, down to fourth. Quite a late gear change, just trying to roll the speed in. It's a very long corner, this. You should be forced to... you want to meet the white line or get as close to as possible, just because it's quite a cambered corner. Also, I find if you go wider here, you just feel like you take a lot of extra distance. You can still be fairly quick, but you lose a little bit. But the later you can be in reaching the white line, the better for the most part. So on throttle, I kind of clipped the curve a little bit, but we'll get away with that. Full throttle, again, because it's cambered, you can be pretty aggressive once you can see the exit and know you're going to make it without running off. Commit. Use the exit curb, but just keep turning the whole time. Keep working all the way back to the right-hand side. Aim to meet the white line about there. Try and get here slightly early if possible, because if you turn in late here, you're going to kind of shock the car when you turn in, and that's when you start getting sliding with the tyre. Okay, turn in, should be flat out through this first left. If you're running enough downforce, it'll be try and aim for the end of the curb, really, to position yourself here. So try and be late through this first part of the S, and then we're trying to open up the angle for this right-hander. Considering that it is flat anyway, let's try and, prepare for the next bit that's coming up as well as possible. So have the car all over to the left-hand side of the track here in 5th gear. Now lift as you turn in here. If you don't lift, you're going to just push on a bit. So lift, you see I don't lift fully off the throttle, just to about 10 to 8%. That's really good for just keeping the momentum up and then keeping the car stable as well. Hold 5th. You might at first need to go down to 4th here, or just hold 4th through the whole section, especially on cold tires, or if you're just building up. But as you get more confidence, you should be able to hold it in 5th, and that really helps carry the speed through. Because remember, it's not about the exit here; it's just about maintaining minimum speed, just maintaining momentum through this whole section. All right, 5th gear, back to 4 once we get to that white line on the right-hand side. You see the car's going to go out. We don't want to be forced all the way out. You can be, but ideally not. If you can be like half a car of the way, that's good, because we want to get back to about mid-track here. Just open up a little bit and then turn straight back to the left. And then look around as far as you can. Try and meet the left-hand side curb here as far around as possible. Again, you can actually use this tall part of the curb to hook the car up. It works. I just think in this car, because it's so aero-dependent and it's so capable, you don't really need it. It's not like a GT car or a TCR or something where it's like, oh, I really want to hook up on the curb and, use it to rotate the car. Like, you shouldn't really need to do that. I'd rather just be smooth and run a car that's better balanced and just try and focus on carrying speed through here. You shouldn't really need to hit the inside curb. So you can see here, when I think I'm about to actually hit the inside curb, I'm picking up the throttle and I'm full by this point and I'm pushing the car away. So the car's forced out, again, not all the way to the white line, but about mid-track here, about a car width to the right, let's say, from the white line. This is the only time you brake here. Very, very small brake. As small a brake as you need. That's because this corner's off camber as you go over the crest, and it's just going to push away. So you need to make sure you keep the car tucked in and not falling too far away from the white line. If you fall away from the white line here, you want to get back. Or if you do, you're going to lose tons of time, because you need to be in early here, on throttle early, and then preparing for the exit out of the final left-hander. So small brake down to 4th. Let the car rotate over the crest into the white line. Now we're hooked up. You can see the car's just gripped up there. The front's just start to bite through the right-hander. Get on throttle as soon as you feel that. The car will stay in the curve now. Let the car run out. Let it run out. For this car, it doesn't need to be back to the white line on the right-hand side. There's no point. I go to about mid-track here, so run to about here. But I actually aim. You can see the rubber. I aim to be on the right-hand side of the rubber, kind of. So it's roughly mid-track, and that's all you should need for the entry here. The main thing through this section in this car, to be honest, is actually just being smooth in the steering. It's not like, oh, I need to prepare massively like I would in a GT or a prototype or something. No, just really smooth. You're gonna lose more time if you're like scrubbing the tire like this, or if you're just killing momentum as well by just being aggressive with the car. So just try and be smooth. So bring it back, smooth. Turn in. It's a long turn in here. 4th gear. Again, do not use the inside curb. You don't need it. Just take the white line. Up to 5th, just about meet the white line there. If you get a slider there, you can lose a bit of momentum again. So just try to be smooth. Just let the car out to the right-hand side of the track there. Now bring the car over to the left. Just shorten the distance a little bit. Pair the cars to the 2 Degners here. So really fun corner this. 50 board is a pretty good reference just when you start lifting out here. It's like the world's smallest brake or lift. So you can see that I just go into the brake, but it's not like I'm braking really early and then coming off and getting on throttle. It's very late. So I lift out and then just tap the brake. It's only enough brake to get the nose in, okay? You just need to brake the car enough so that the front can get to the white line on the inside. So look to hit the white line here. You don't want that inside curve. You hit it, you bounce, and then you get fired off. So you shouldn't be able to hit it. The other thing as well is the exit here does not matter. There is no exit. There is no exit. The earlier you get on throttle, the more you prepare for the exit here, the more you get punished, the more out of position you're going to be for Degner 2, and you're not going to gain any lap time. It's all entry speed. That's why we're holding 5th. It might feel like you want to go to 4th again. Maybe you might need to feel like you need to start in 4th if you don't know Suzuka or the car that well. But trust me, it's 5th, and just push the entry, be late. Just that's the smallest amount of brake. Just try and carry speed. It doesn't matter when you get to throttle here. See, I just pick up some part throttle. That's more about settling the rear down. Okay, now I can commit. Use all the curb here on the left-hand side. Keep the car straight on the red and white curb. Brake down to 3rd. As late as possible here. I'm in fractionally early. It's always a tricky corner, this, because if you're in too late, you get a snap. But if you're in early, you end up pushing out a lot on the exit. This is borderline early. Ideally, just clip the red and white curb. I take a bit more on this lap, but I just about get away with it. Main thing there is, like I said, you can be quite late. Just try not to turn in early, okay? So brake, wait, and then rotate there, because if you start turning in, that's when you get the lockups. Or you start like kind of pointing the car in under braking, and you really like shallow, make the corner become a very shallow angle, and then you end up running out, and it's easy to an off track here, or spin on the exit, or bottom out this exit curb. So just try and avoid that, okay? If I run the floor of the car, so the middle of the car here where the plank is, and I run it on this high edge of the curb, I bottom out, and then you lose a lot of time, and you get off track probably. So don't do that. Just run it so your left tires just about go over the red and white here. All right, keep it smooth, keep it on the left. Turn as late as possible to prepare the car for the braking for this hairpin. Meet the white line after the curb. Get the car straight. Brake pretty much a car length after. You get it straight. The only real reference here is this pole. Don't use the shadows, please. You got this pole. We're braking before that. We're braking after we get the car past that right-hand side curb. So you kind of got those as references. That can be a little bit tricky to judge. It is an uphill braking zone, so you can brake very late here. Just make sure the car's straight. Initially, quite a firm hit of the brake. Down to second gear. You can see I bleed out a lot at this point. That's because you dip into this bowl where all the camber is. If you keep braking, you'll just lock up because the car's going like up the hill, up the hill, up the hill. So it's gripping, and then the track's suddenly like this. So the left front tire is suddenly just in the air. So if you keep braking, there's no friction, right? So it just locks up because there's nothing for it to actually press into anymore. Once you get into camber like this, you want to carry speed. You want to roll the car in, right? So try and use the uphill part of the braking zone just to get the car stopped, be efficient, and then as soon as you reach this point over the crest, bleed out the brakes, turn in. See there? Normally it would understeer a bit if it was a normal, like completely flat hairpin, because it's not. We turn in and it bites. The car gets pulled into the inside, very, very tight corner this. You can try first. I think second's a bit better because it doesn't like loosen up the rear on the entry, and I had some traction issues in first as well. So I found second was just a little bit better. Able to pick up about 70-80% throttle initially just to get the car going so we're not bogging. And then as soon as I feel like I'm getting towards the power band of the engine, I need to get the wheel straight, get to full throttle. Use all the track here. Make sure you get that steering off, get that weight out of the car. Hold it to the right-hand side now, just shorten the distance here. Not much to do, just be smooth on the wheel. You don't need to put stupid lock on, just be smooth, Keep the car on the right-hand side, you should be on the right after that curb. Okay, definitely on the right-hand side of the track where this service road is, and then turning in now for the first part of spoon curve. Now spoon curve, you want to end up about here on this outside curve to try and open up the actual corner, let's say, or you can call it second apex, whatever you want, the second part of the corner. This bit, again, a bit like Degner 1, is not really a corner. Like, don't think, oh, I need to stop and turn and get a good exit. And it's all about positioning for this bit. So it's an entry-only corner, this bit. So it's just how much speed can I carry? And then I kind of want to keep the car positioned here. I actually find as well, if you brake early here and you get on the throttle early here, you'll end up really stuffing yourself over because you end up on throttle early and understeering quite wide here. So try to be aggressive and late on the entry into this part. Okay, fifth gear. Pretty late there. Just get hooked up on the curb, then get on throttle. You can see I get on throttle a little bit here, not too much. You shouldn't be able to get to full. If you get to full throttle here, you haven't carried enough speed. So that's really the main thing when I talk about pushing the entry there, is it shouldn't be a corner where you come out of and, I can easily get on throttle. If you're doing that, then you're slowing it down too much. And if you do that, it makes it harder and harder to position the car for this next bit. The more consistent you are with how you push the first part of the spoon curve, the better and more consistent your positioning will be for this bit. All right, let the car around here. You can run wider legally in iRacing. You'll see people, especially in the GTs, you run. So, I think it's the middle of the car on the edge of the red and white here. But you will bottom out in this car and unsettle it, so you don't need to do that. So I don't think it's the right thing to do. Just run your right-hand side tires on the red and white curb. Pretty much when you meet the curb, very small brake. See, it's a very, very soft brake. I'm just enough to get the car turned. Down to third gear. I go for quite a late downshift. I think if you're early, you'll strike this curb. And if you hit this curb, it's not like the ugliest curve in the world. The problem is just because of how tall it is, or the angle of it, it pushes you wide. And then that really hurts your exit because you just end up out of position. It hurts you for a very long exit as well, so just try to avoid hitting it. So that's why I go for a late downshift there. If you try and brake too late, though, you'll never get in. You'll never get into the corner. So this is where it's very tricky. So that's why I have a very soft, smooth brake to try and carry some momentum in. Late downshift, just to get the car rotated nice and late. As soon as I get into this white line, on throttle, full before I'm away from the inside curb. Look up, look up, look up. Let the car out, and you should be forced onto this curb. If anything, this is a very smooth exit. Like, you should almost be out earlier. A lot of times when you're pushing it here, you'll be out really early. You just have to just about hold it on the track. Don't run any wider than that on the curb. If you run a bit wider, you end up hitting quite a bit of a bump on that curb, and you also end up potentially getting off track as well. Okay, 130R, not a corner in this car. Just be smooth. White line, don't need to take any curb. Let the steering out. Bring it back to the left. Not much to do there. Just be very smooth on the steering. Maintain your momentum. Braking. Braking points, you got the bridge, you got the barrier on the right, but I think really the best one is the gravel trap on the left, okay? So braking after the 100 board and before the gravel trap on the left-hand side. Try and be straight. You might be thinking, oh, Bart, this isn't straight because the track's going to go this way. We're turning in by then. It's not a problem. I want you to be straight from this point up until this safety car line here. That's my reference generally. So braking, again, fairly heavy here. Heavy straight line braking zone. Down to second gear. Turning off again just after that white line. Around where this Marshall's HUD is on the left-hand side. Turn in. Now the first curb strike, I take a little bit. You can take more than this and get away with it. It does upset the car a bit. So I don't, but you can technically do it. I just think this is better for preparing the exit. Again, you can avoid it. But I just think take a little bit. I just had the right tires go over the red and white curb. That positions the car nicely over this. Just a little bit of throttle as you're hitting the curb. That helps put the rear down, put some weight on the rear axle, and just keeps the car stable as you land through there. Get on the throttle between the two, and you should just lift here to get the car turned in. Again, just a little bit of curb. You can take more legally, again, but in this car, I find it upsets it too much. You get a big bounce on the exit. It's just very stiff. If this is a GT or something, you can do it, but in this F3, it's very upset by these kind of things. So just wait. As soon as you get off the curb, bang, almost full throttle straight away, okay? Use all the exit curb, and then hold the car to the right at the end of a fast lap. Really helps you cut down the distance. Hold it right, and that's a lap at Suzuka. All right, then, so looking at the final braking zone of the track in Delta, we get a bit of a better idea here of the shape for braking. So, because it's not perfectly straight, it's not like this super neat brake shape necessarily. So initially you've got a pretty normal peak, build up to pressure, hit about 80% there, which is pretty much your peak in this kind of car and iRacing. Down the gears, obviously here. But you'll see this is pretty normal, I'd say up to this point, and then now the track's starting to turn a little bit. And because of that, you can see the brake pressure just decreasing a little bit because I'm having to introduce some steering at this point. So normally when you went into like a chicane or a hairpin, it'd be like straight, hold the brake pressure at this point, and then you drop off. Whereas here you see there's a little bit of a drop in my brake pressure here just because I'm starting to turn to the corner a little bit earlier. You see there's a bit of steering down here. We go from about 6% towards about 20% there. Now that is because, like I said, the braking zone is not perfectly straight towards the end of it. Just it's really important when you actually commit to your turn in and you've got the car. See, I've got all the gear changes done by the time I want to start bleeding off the brake properly. Okay, like I said, a little bit of a drop here in my pressure as I turn and combine a little bit, but I only completely drop the brake pressure after I've done all my gear changes, and then when I want to completely commit to the steering. So at this point, 19 degrees, and then I actually turn it and go to about 40%. Drop the brake, and there's a little bit of brake as I go over the curb, but no, that's not really anything. So just make sure it's all about with this braking being efficient initially, controlling a bit as you combine, and then make sure you completely bleed out of the brakes here as you turn in. That's really important. All right, then that brings us towards the end of the video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. And you can also check out the Coach Dev Academy Discord, where you can get information for more lap guy videos, setups, and more in the YouTube video description. My name is Bart. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.